Hello, guys. We are the Arsenalholics. Thank you for tuning into another episode. I'm Mize, Raj, and Aaron. How are we doing, lads?
Good. Is that the first time you've introduced us in that way? You know, like we're the Arsenalholics.
You've been working on the intro.
Just came naturally, obviously.
Sound cool. I thought it was very good. I thought it was very good. I think the way you delivered it is very like you've done this before.
It's like you've been practicing it or something like that.
Definitely haven't got time to be practicing the intros before these episodes.
Got nothing else to talk about, mate, so we might as well just talk about the intros for the rest of the
episode. Yeah. So we've just finished to get the game. So we're recording pretty much on the whistle. Beating West Brom, relegated West Brom 3-1. We have won today. I was saying to you guys sort of during the game, before the game, I was really struggling to get up for this in any way. Even when we scored it, I wasn't that enthused about it. I guess it was nice to get a win. And yeah, nice to relegate a big Sam team. I've got nothing against West Brom personally, but yeah, especially after his comments was it around the winter time when we were really far down the table and he said that we were relegation rivals, which I think in hindsight now is quite funny. But yeah, 3-1. Nice easy win.
In bits it looked really easy, didn't it? And then in bits looked really, really hard. Like it just we made a meal out of it on some bits. I think there was the bit where when we went down when they got a goal back and it was 2-1, we suddenly looked like a team who weren't really playing for a reason, and they looked like a team that were.
Yeah, I think honestly the highlight of that game was the fact that we relegated Big Sam. And I just thought that was really funny. He's just a strange man, and so that was good. I thought the performance was okay. It's very hard to get excited for it, like you said, Mice. There were bits which were good. The one thing I found really hard to do is to not just be like, oh well, if only we did that on Thursday, or if only we did that on Thursday. And you kind of have to work hard to be like, no, Thursday's done, new, rest of the season, not much to play for, but let's just try and enjoy what's left of it.
I'm not over Thursday yet. Like playing again today, 3 days on, I was thinking exactly the same thing. And when the first goal went in, I was just like, I think I said in our group chat, we sort of started the first few minutes quite well, and then it was quite even for a bit. But I think I messaged in those first few minutes and was like, oh, now they decide to play with a bit of impetus and a bit of, forward passing. And it's just like...
It's funny because I didn't even think we were. But when you said that, I was like, man, he's really got something to get off his chest, doesn't he?
No, I'm not over it. I'm not over it. It's still really upsetting.
I'm just trying to ignore it.
Honestly, I think it's a mature way of looking at it. Like the way you looked at it totally was. But like what was really annoying, I found, was any of the good things that we did today, and I'm sure we'll go into it in slightly more detail, it really was a case of why didn't you do that on Thursday? We played against a low block at times on Thursday. Why didn't we do that? Why individual moments of quality? Where were they? So yeah, it's obviously
West Brom are pretty rubbish, and compared to Villarreal, Villarreal are considerably better than West Brom. So we put a sort of second string team out today, and we looked okay, and it probably shows how far we've fallen that we only looked okay against West Brom. And I think it's just a case of let's get to the end of the season. Like it's going to be really hard to analyze these last 4 games that we've got left, because you just don't know anymore. Like you can't compare. Other teams have got things to play for, and we don't. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing about these next 3 games now, 4 including today, is the players that Arteta's selecting, positions he's putting them in. If he's looking at doing anything different in terms of the tactics, because obviously there's been massive issues with that this season, and the way he's approached games. I mean, on that, obviously there were loads of changes today. I'm not going to go through them all, but I guess some of the most interesting ones were Saka back at left back. Martin Keown thought he's never played there before, which is quite funny. I don't know if anyone else heard that comment during the game on his commentary. But yeah, he seemed to think that this was a master stroke by Arteta today, because he obviously had a good game. Martinelli through the middle. But yeah, I mean, no other major changes, I guess. A few that you'd expect, like a bit of rotation. Willian comes back in. I mean, we'll just talk about the goals, I guess. The first one, the Smith Rowe goal, was really good work down the left by Saka, and he was doing that all game, or at least all first half. And it was all three goals were really good, but it was a really good goal. It was a good cross and a really smart finish from Smith Rowe. Nice for him to get his first Premier League goal as well.
Yeah, really good goal. I thought, those two have been like the big positive of this season, if not the only positive, really. Maybe Tierney aside. And, when they play well, we play well. And no, it was a really good goal. I thought, Willian was involved, Ceballos was involved, I think. And, we got in behind, and then Saka played a great ball, and it was a really good finish. And, well done to them. I think they've been pretty much carrying this team for so long in the second half of the season. And, the one thing that does concern me a bit is, I know other people chipped in later today, but if those two aren't playing well, nobody else really seems to have the ability to lift this team and do something different.
When you have a plan, I think, you also need quality. And what I liked about that goal was it felt like it was a goal that we had practiced when we're playing against low block sides. What I really liked is how the passes beforehand in the build-up were slowly moving people out of position. It allowed Saka to make that run into like a field of space, basically. And I think when you have a plan like that, you still need quality. And I think that's where we've been lacking at times this season, where it's felt like maybe Arteta has got them, has got a plan. He's got them trying to do things. But whatever it is, it just hasn't been there. And whether it's either confusion or it's a lack of quality. But this was quality. The cross was quality and the finish was quality. You still needed both those things. Do you know what I mean? And that's just, that whole combination of planning and quality is just something that we've been lacking, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you, I was thinking this during the game. When Tierney got injured, obviously, I'm pretty sure the first game that Tierney was injured, did Xhaka go straight in at left back? I think. Could be wrong. I think
so. Didn't Cedric have a game there as well?
Cedric maybe, yeah. But I mean, look, it's in hindsight, it's easy to say. But do you guys think that it would have been worthwhile putting Saka into that position, into left back, considering that majority of our forward players, or the players that play behind the striker, we've got quite a few options there, so there's plenty of players to kind of pick from. And although you're kind of taking away from Saka's potential in the attacking third, you saw today what he can still do when on the overlaps, and he's got the engine to get up and down, and he's constantly making those runs in behind. In hindsight, do you think that was a bit of a mistake from Arteta, where you could have just kind of gone with Saka when you know what you're going to get from him there, and then tweaked the front three, front four?
It's easy to say with hindsight, but I think two major caveats. One, today it was West Brom, and Saka's not going to look, or he might do, but he's obviously going to look good against West Brom wherever he plays, to be honest, because it's Saka. The second thing is that actually, like, against on Thursday, it wasn't even Xhaka at left back, right? Now, what the really brave thing to do was actually, when Xhaka got injured on Thursday, maybe he then should have put Saka at left back rather than bringing on Tierney, who he clearly decided wasn't fit enough to start the game anyway. So if he's not fit enough to start the game, Xhaka gets injured before the game, then I think, it was probably worth bringing and playing Saka at left back rather than anywhere else. But honestly, you look at the first game, if it wasn't for Saka winning the penalty, the tie could have been over in the first leg. It's so hard to say. I don't think Xhaka did that badly. I mean, I think his omission from the middle of our midfield was a bit of a cause for concern. You could have said, actually, if Xhaka was in the midfield, he would have made more of a difference there. But purely from the left side, I think we still lose so much when we take Saka out that front three.
I think that's it. So just to add a couple of points, mine was going to be that, Aaron, and I wondered if Arteta just looked at it, Miles, and just thought, he's arguably my best forward player at the moment. I don't want to disrupt that. But actually, what was interesting, what does I think back up potentially the question as to whether that still would have been a good idea, is that today, when Saka moved from left back further up, he actually wasn't as effective. I know, like, that might have just been tiredness. That could have been a lot of things, but he actually was excellent in that left back position, being able to overlap, etc. It's quite possible that his best position could be left wing back. It's quite possible, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, for us, our best way of deploying him is further up the field, because, we don't either have better options or actually we just need him in that area. But he's always seemed to look very good from an attacking perspective, even when he's playing at left back or wing back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just interested to get your thoughts really on that. Okay, and yeah, in terms of the second goal, the Pepe goal, that's again a fantastic strike from him. We know that he's got the ability to do that. And I mean, I think West Brom made it quite easy for him, really, because he was able to just sort of run at their left back and come inside and hits one of those shots that we see him do quite often. And it's kind of thing, well, we've seen him do in the past. We'd like to see him do that more often. But yeah, it was a really, really, really good goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he scored a really similar goal last season against Brighton. If you remember, it was kind of a very, very similar situation, which we went on to lose that game. But I think the point there is, again, Brighton, West Brom, Miles, isn't it? Like, you want to see him do this against better teams, and you want to see him do it more consistently. This is, when he plays on that right-hand side, this is exactly what you'd expect and want out of him, a left-foot player cutting in and shooting in that way. So yes, it was fantastic, great goal. Maybe, I don't want to look at negatives, but I would look at it and think, like, this is something that you really should be doing more often, mate. Yeah.
I was going to say, do you not think that part of the reason he's maybe not done it more often, and we could get onto Pepe as a whole discussion, but do you think one of the reasons he's maybe not done it as consistently is because he's been in and out of the team quite a lot, and it's probably been in the last few weeks that he's been getting starts? I think earlier in the season there was a period where he just wasn't even getting in, when it was Ødegaard, Saka, Smith Rowe, which might be a contributing factor. I think I'd like to think it would be. It is, not being in the team as regularly as he would want to be.
Yeah, I think actually, like, Raj, you say he should be doing it in the big games, but actually, with Pepe, we know that he is a work in progress, right? I thought today, actually, he was pretty quiet except for his goal. But he's the type of player that has clearly got the individual ability to do something special in this team, whether it's cut like goals like that, or deliver a decent cross, or like a top finish. And when you've got one of these players who is struggling for consistency, struggling for form, I think the best thing to do is in these home games against the easier teams, or say there's no easy games in this league, but the teams like West Brom and other teams, just play him, because we've invested in him and we have to give him the game time to just do something. And against weaker opposition, he is better than most of those defenders that he's coming up against, and eventually he will get something right and he will do something special. Fair enough, if it's a big cup final, a big semi-final, I can understand the case for not playing someone like Pepe, but in these easier games, it's really important that we help him find form, because I still think there is a player there. Whether or not he'll reach that potential, I'm still not convinced, but there's, it's undoubted, like, his talent and his quality is there. We can all see it.
And Miles, I think your point about, whether it's because actually he was not playing in patches, I guess it's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it? Because arguably you could say that he wasn't playing because he wasn't delivering. There's that element to it. I guess there's also actually the element that he's been playing on the left-hand side as well this season for some, for periods. So it's kind of, he obviously can't do that on the left-hand side. But I think what I quite like is it feels like Arteta's really just demanded him to be more involved and just contribute more, or, in an all-round way. And I still maintain, I mentioned this on the last pod, like, I think over the last couple of months, he's been our best attacking player. From basically every facet. I see him working a lot harder defensively as well. So, Aaron, and your point about work in progress, if this is a continued trend forward, then maybe that is another thing that we can hang on to as a slight positive going into next season. If he continues on this trend, then hopefully it'll be a much better version of Nicolas Pepe that we'll get over a full season.
Yeah, and I certainly think if we look at our squad, there is no reason to be giving Willian minutes over someone like Pepe. When we've got players like Martinelli, we've got players like Smith Rowe and Pepe, all for those kind of wide player positions. I really hope Willian is the bottom of that pecking order, because there's so much more upside. That regardless of what you think of Willian, I think there's so much more upside to those first three getting minutes and improving on the pitch and learning how to make a difference in these games.
Can they hit a free kick like he did today?
Well, no, I'm sure. We'll come on to that.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. We'll come on to Willian, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the second half, I thought we were pretty comfortable. Again, West Brom were a little bit better, but I don't think they were really troubling us. And Pereira was quite dangerous throughout the game. And obviously he came up with their goal, which brought them back into the game and changed the complexion of it as well. It was a good goal from their perspective, I guess. And if you're Pereira, you're probably quite pleased with that goal. He's been able to carry the ball been able to carry the ball. We've let him carry the ball, and it's a good finish. But pretty much just ran down the pitch, through the middle of the pitch, with very, very little, if any, challenge, any sort of pressure. I think Elneny gets kind of close to him, but doesn't really do anything because he's sort of running in behind him. So he's obviously worried about committing a foul. And the centre backs probably don't press, but I'm not sure if it's their fault or it's the midfield's fault or what. But it was a pretty poor goal to concede from an Arsenal perspective. Yeah,
he just did Elneny and Ceballos for pace, basically. Once he got past him, it was just I didn't realize Ceballos was, like, I knew Elneny wasn't the quickest, but I didn't realize how slow Ceballos was. And you saw Juan Foyth do him for pace in the first leg, right? And it was like a replay of that. He just ran, and Ceballos was nowhere near him. And then Elneny, he sort of caught up, but again, Elneny's not the quickest. And after that, he was just one-on-one in front of the very terrified Gabriel. And and then he did well to finish it.
I was a bit harsh on Gabriel, because actually, look, I think the main issue was, like you correctly talked about, I think, the central midfielders. I was mainly actually disappointed with Elneny because, aside from the fact that he's arguably the best long range shooter in Europe at the moment, aside from that, what he obviously brings to the team is that defensive kind of stability in the central midfield. Like, he's not a forward thinker, really. He's, kind of does the Gilberto thing of kind of tries to suss out danger. And obviously this was just, he did the opposite. He did really badly in that sense, and that's kind of his job. So I was more disappointed at him. But this, and actually, in fairness, Aaron, and you were singing the praises of Pereira, and in fairness, I think what he did that was really clever is when he did get really deep and he was against the centre backs, if you sort of notice, he creates some confusion in the centre backs because he kind of moves towards the right hand side and he moves towards the left hand side. And at this point, Gabriel, who is the left sided centre back, is coming towards the right, which then is a bit, I think in his mind, he's a bit like, is this Holding's territory? But Holding has already gone to cover a runner on the other side. And it's basically created this little bunch of space, and Pereira's done really well and had a decent shot and scored. So maybe that was quite clever from Pereira. It's one of those things that can often be underrated. You don't really see it. And, it's not an obvious thing to see, but maybe it is just a sign of a very good player who, and Aaron, and I guess I'll let you expand a bit more because you certainly thought Pereira was a very good player, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pereira.
Have you really actually seen him aside from
as of like 9 o'clock tonight? Yeah.
No, he's been West Brom's best player. I think he's definitely got their most assists. Not sure how he's done goal scoring wise, but he to me reminds me of like what Emil Smith Rowe could become in terms of that player that can kind of play almost everywhere across the midfield, but certainly it's got a pass on him, and he'll certainly be playing somewhere else in the Premier League very, very soon. And I'm not sure if he's right for us, but he would certainly improve our midfield for sure. On that note of midfielders, I think we've discussed Ceballos a number of times, and I think we're all very clear that, personally, I don't think he's good enough, and I don't think you guys think he's certainly good enough to or worth investing in. But how do you guys feel about Elneny possibly getting a new contract?
How many years has he got left?
I think this is his final year.
This year coming up is his final year.
Yeah.
Go on, you mate.
And I was going to say, I mean, look, it's hard. I would sort of say I'm happy to keep him as a squad player, but I'm happy to keep him as a squad player if he's just going to play, cup games or whatever, League Cup games. But realistically, if you've got a player in your squad and he's a third, fourth, fifth choice centre midfielder, he's at some point going to be playing at, next season's Premier League, right? We haven't got Europe to worry about, but it's going to be against much, much better opposition in the Premier League. And that's where he's obviously just limited. He's just a very limited player. He can do a job. Like I remember at Old Trafford this season, we were raving about him just because he stuck to the game plan and he delivered on the day. But obviously, like I said, he's very limited. So I wouldn't be kind of angry if he was given another contract on the basis that, we're obviously going to have other better midfielders ahead of him, but there's no guarantees of that, right? So at the same time, I would not be upset at all if we moved him on. Like, wouldn't have any qualms about that.
Pretty much the same. The only thing I'll add is say I think there's an argument to say that it's still quite smart to have him around because he's probably not on very much wages at all. I don't think he is. He seems pretty satisfied in the knowledge that he's not going to be a starter. He seems to be okay with that. And I think there are situations where it's advantageous to bring on an Elneny type, someone who's actually just going to do very boring things and just kind of marshal. And weirdly, they're not always easy to find, weirdly. So in that way, if you've got a guy who's willing to kind of be that bench player, it was never the intention this season, I think, for him to get as many minutes as he actually did. There's just a couple of other reasons why that happened. Also, I think Arteta's kind of propensity, because I was really thinking about this today, and actually this maybe makes me feel like I wouldn't be that happy if we kept Elneny, that Arteta doesn't seem to like to play players on form. He's very kind of whatever he thinks that specific game needs, regardless of whether you're in form. You could be completely out of form. He'll almost just try and play what he believes in his head is that right team, which I think we've suffered this season at times, just him not playing players who are necessarily in form. So there have been times, I think, where he's chosen Elneny to start for a tactical reason. And I kind of think that's maybe not the right way forward, but I guess what do I know?
It's hard. I was just going to say it's quite hard because we're now in a position where we're obviously not going to be able to. I don't know. It depends how much money we can put on the table for players and what kind of wages we can offer with no European football and no revenue from European football next season. But a player like him, you can almost depend on him. You can trust on him, and he's obviously familiar with the club, and he's been around for a few years. So you kind of have to take those factors into consideration as well, because you can't just go and sell every player that you want to essentially and replace, with sort of 10 new players in the squad, because I think realistically, you can't do that in a window. And I think it's a lot of change. It's a lot of turnover in the space of a couple of months. So he might be the kind of player that we just keep around and if, like you said, Raj, if it's not on massive money, extend him and then see what happens in the next season or so. But I'd be very concerned if, we have him and let's say Partey, Xhaka and him as our 3 senior central midfielders next season.
Okay. Yeah. I think I broadly agree. The only counterpoint I'd say is if this is a next season when we don't have European football, then maybe it's worth giving a young player like, Aziz or even Joe Willock, if he comes back and he can play there, although maybe that's not his best position, or even Maitland-Niles a run there, because if we are just playing in the FA Cup, League Cup and Premier League, then actually maybe we don't need a player like Elneny sitting around.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say that is, I think Aziz should get chances next season anyway, and hopefully he does. But again, I think he seems like a bit more of a progressive player. Again, with Elneny, I'm thinking more of that. Do you just need a guy in your squad who's the guy you bring on to just play sideways passes and just try and sometimes sit back and almost join in with the defenders? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they got their goal, and we were a little bit uncomfortable for a while, I think. But they didn't score again. And I mean, that Willian free kick, which was a really, really good free kick, and obviously his first goal for us, which was nice. You know, we've obviously given him not stick really. We've just been teasing more than anything. It's not been anything too vicious, but yeah, a little bit of teasing here and there. But obviously we want him to do well as long as he's wearing an Arsenal shirt. So it was nice for him to get a goal, and it was a fantastic free kick, and sealed the game really in the last few minutes.
Yeah, well done, Willian.
No.
It was a really good free kick.
It was a really good. Did you see Elneny, what he did?
No.
Did you not see it? So if you watch it back, right? So the wall's covering the right hand side of the goal, and Elneny's on the other side, the left hand side, and he just basically, I don't know how they didn't give a free kick for this, to be honest. He basically just shoves, like with his back, he just shoves, I think maybe one or possibly two West Brom players who are like there, just completely shoves them out of the way and just opens up the space. I mean, the free kick probably still goes in because it goes up and down anyway, but it was quite an obvious foul because you could just see what he's doing. Like he's just literally using all his body weight, and pretty much pushes two West Brom players over. Yeah, I thought it was quite funny because I watched it back and I thought,
contract, mate.
There you go. Exactly. We can't sell him.
You could do that.
Our set piece coach is earning his money.
Yeah, it was like a beautiful. It just hit the. I love it when free kicks hit the side netting, the inside side netting. It's perfect, isn't it? So like, it just looked really good. It looked good. It was good. But again, like I know we shouldn't think like this, but it was another moment of why are you doing this now? Like why? Like why would you do this to us? Like so many games where we've needed a goal and we've had a free kick. Why now? It is what it is. The life of an Arsenal fan.
He might be sold as well, right? I think there's talk he's been linked to the MLS or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, which would be interesting. I mean, I don't know how this would work. I was thinking about this because obviously he's on what I think it was 200k a week, or we were told. Something like that. I think so. Yeah, it was on a free, right? So
yeah.
So obviously he's got 2 years left on his deal. I don't know how much MLS teams play their kind of star players. I'm not saying Willian. I guess he would be.
He would be a star player. Yeah,
he would be a star player. But do they pay that sort of money? I wouldn't have thought so. And obviously, if they want to take him from us, they're going to have to pay a fee. I don't know what that fee would be. What that would look like for 31, 30. I don't know how old he is.
33 in like a
33
couple of months, I think. He's 32 now, but he's turning 33. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yes, 32-year-old. I mean, I was thinking, look, I don't know how this works in the world of football in terms of transfers, but whatever an MLS team is willing to pay, but they're not. But if Willian's like, no, I want 100k a week or 150k a week, and these teams that want him are not willing to offer that sort of wage, I'm just like, if I was Arsenal, I'd just say to the club, just give that money to Willian, just give it that to him. We don't want any money, just get him off our wage books. 200k a week I could be wrong on that, but
I think it is 200k. I think you're right.
That's a shit rate.
I mean, if we get £1 million for Willian, like he is, I know his wages are high, and yeah, but the economics of the deal was such that at the time you could have argued that it's sensible business, right? It's obviously it hasn't worked out, and he's been absolutely awful. But if an MLS team is going to give us $1 million, he could do all right on MLS. You never know, because the league's a bit slower, and maybe his technical quality will shine through a bit better. And you just know if he goes to MLS, he's going to start like smashing them in.
Probably, but
going to start. People are going to be like blaming Arteta for it.
Again, it's another one like with the Elneny discussion. Like it's just another position or another player in our squad where it's like, what's going to happen to what? I think the majority of Arsenal fans would say they would prefer him to leave. He's just not really done it this season, right? But and he's going to be blocking. I don't like using that word, but blocking minutes for other players. But like when you say 200, I mean, I was having a chat to my Liverpool mate about this the other day, right? Because we were talking about Aubameyang after we went out on Thursday, and we were having a chat about things that have gone wrong. And then he was like, you guys are paying ridiculous money ridiculous money on Aubameyang's wages, 350k a week. And he said to me that Salah's only on 200. Their top earner is Salah, and he's on 200k a week. And I laughed and I just said, mate, Willian's on that as well. And like, I don't know how that works with Liverpool, because obviously they've got a few star players like Van Dijk and stuff, but I can imagine the majority of their squad's probably on fairly reasonable money. And that is just, I mean, look, we could talk, I don't want to go off topic. I know I'm going off topic, but it's just like when I hear that, and I think arguably the best player or one of the best players in the league for the last few seasons and a Champions League winner and a Premier League winner is on the same money as a 31-year-old Willian. It's astonishing, isn't it, really, when you put it like that? And I don't know if anyone is, apart from, I don't know which other players are earning more than Willian but less than Aubameyang in our squad. I'm not sure if there are any. He might be the second top earner. Don't know, but yeah,
that it is mad. It's interesting because it feels like Liverpool have got, like how Arsenal used to do that thing where there was very low disparity in wages between like players, because Liverpool's wage budget is actually still higher than ours. They still spend more on wages annually than we do. But I think they've got loads of players who are within that 150k to 200 category. There's just like lots of them.
Yeah.
And fair enough. I mean, fair enough, right?
Exactly.
Like, they're actually good. Yeah. So yeah.
I think that deal just seemed very, very suspect with, the whole Senyahi, what's that, Kia, at the start of the summer, right? That deal. I think we signed him at the start of the window, right? And I think it was very fishy. I know they say Arteta wanted him. I'm not sure how true that is, but we'll never know. But yeah, it's look, I think it was a deal that you could argue made sense at the time, but I think for whatever reason it hasn't worked out. I can't see him improving enough to justify his wages. So if we get an offer in the summer, we should absolutely take it and move on.
The only thing I think we definitely plan on having a proper discussion on transfers in and outs and all the rest of it. But I'd say I think it's obviously clear Nelson's going to go, right? It's obviously clear. And I think in that event of Nelson going, if we sell Willian, we probably need to sign another wide player.
I'm not sure, do we?
Well, I think so, because fine, ignore Nelson, like that, that's irrelevant because he hasn't played anyway, right? Whatever. But Willian has still had minutes. Yeah, he still had a lot of minutes. And I imagine part of that is, fair enough. It might be because, we've got Europe as well. And maybe if we weren't in Europe, it's not as big a deal. Fine, fair enough. But let's just assume that Arteta still thinks in numbers. If we let go of two wide players, we need to sign another wide player. Then it's just another position that we need to go out and try and solve in the summer. And again, to get a decent player, it's going to cost a bit of money. We probably, if we are going to get someone in, they probably need to be a bit experienced, because otherwise our whole kind of forward line, that set of positions are all pretty young. So that's the only the argument I could see for saying maybe we need to keep him around, purely from that perspective.
I think if we aren't in Europe, then I think we could get away with having Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Pepe, and even Aubameyang, who can play on that left and right side.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, transfers, let's save that discussion for another time, I think.
Cool. Okay, so I mean, that was the game, really. Like I said, it's quite hard to get excited about a win that means very little in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I say that, but Raj, you were saying before the game to us, we have a relatively decent chance of finishing above Spurs. I probably reworded what you said, so maybe that's not quite exactly what you said.
Yeah, it's just like it's just silver linings, right? I think we do, right? So now I think we won today, so I think we're 4 points behind Spurs.
We are.
So even games played, 3 games left. We've got 4 points behind Spurs. Yes, we've got Chelsea away. Like, that's a tough game, but I'm pretty sure Tottenham have got Aston Villa. They've got Leicester as well, at least.
Yeah,
Leicester on the last day.
Yeah. So those, and I'm just looking for silver. I mean, if this is our worst season in the Emirates era, right? Like, this is terrible. This is as bad as it gets, and. Geez, I mean, imagine if we finished above Spurs, like in that scenario. Remember at the beginning of the season, people are talking about Spurs as title contenders after they were scoring, a very good amount of goals on a regular basis, getting the results. it would be. I'm looking at, I'm just clutching here at, things to be happy about.
I think you're clutching about it even being a chance of happening. But with it, especially given that we've got Chelsea, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, midweek. If for some reason somehow we manage to beat Chelsea, then it's certainly possible. But 4 points, 3 games to go. You're really relying on us winning all 3 of our games.
Yeah. Or Spurs having an absolute collapse, basically.
Yeah, which isn't beyond them, to be fair.
It would be, yeah. I mean, look, it leads nicely onto the Chelsea game in midweek.
Are we going to very quickly cover Martinelli? Because it's the first time that we played him at centre forward. Starting at centre forward. It's probably...
Good point. Go for it.
Well, that was like at the beginning of the game. That's actually what I was looking forward to. Like, if I was trying to get up for something and I saw the lineup and I thought Martinelli's going to play at centre forward today, that'll be interesting. But I think there's plenty of reasons why people have been rightfully bashing Arteta at the moment. We're in a terrible position. But I think one of the things that people had been on his back a bit was saying, why haven't you tried Martinelli up front through the middle? And he had made comments like he was sort of saying, he's trying to trade him in these positions centrally and on the wing. On the basis of today, I can see that. I think Martinelli's got a lot to learn about playing centre forward. He was doing that thing that Sanchez does, where effectively, he's like a terrier. He was running everywhere, trying to go wherever the ball was, trying to just be part of the action all the time. And there were plenty of times where I was like, dude, you're not in the penalty box. What are you doing? And there was one case in particular, I remember, where he kind of had run back to a centre-back position at some point, just following the ball. Yeah. And then the ball by this time had gone forward, like the wingers have got it, and the wingers waiting, I think, to cross it to someone. A couple of bodies have got in and he's not there. And for me, that was an example where I thought, okay, mate, you've got some way to go to play centre forward, because a lot of playing centre forward is about positioning, right?
Especially in this team where the role of the centre forward is so confused. We don't really know. We play a different type of centre forward almost every game. Sometimes, in our biggest game of the season, we played no centre forward. So it's a tough team and tough role to play a striker in. I think he could be there, but also I think he can clearly do a job on the left when he comes inside. So no huge concerns there.
It's a good point, really. It's a good discussion point, because I was thinking today as the crosses were coming in from Saka and these crosses that were flashing across the goal, and we were like a fraction of a second too late, or no one was there. That happened a few times. I was thinking Eddie would probably have scored a hat-trick today.
True.
And it was the kind of game that we haven't had for a very, very long time, or much this season, let's say, where you just needed a poacher in front of goal, and Martinelli probably wasn't the right guy for how the kind of game transpired in terms of our chances, which is quite ironic, really, all things considered.
Completely agree. I think Eddie or Oba, if Oba had started today, he probably would have had that trick, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
It's always the case, isn't it? I feel like when we start Oba, we never give him any service or put anything into the box. But when he's not there, crosses are flying in left, right, and centre.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, definitely some work to do for Martinelli. I completely agree. But good thing is he's obviously very, very young, so plenty of time to work out where his best position is going to be. If it's not going to be through the middle, then sort of no worries about that, I guess. Should we talk about Chelsea then?
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea on Wednesday, is it? Midweek? Yep. Wednesday. I mean, again, it's a big game because Chelsea's always quite a big game for Arsenal, but the gap is absolutely massive. Despite us beating them earlier in the season, obviously they've just having replaced their manager, they've kind of what's the word? Come on leaps and bounds. They're absolutely flying at the moment in the league and in Europe as well. And I'm a little bit worried about this game. I think I can see it being the kind of game where we actually play quite well and we're up for. When the pressure's off, kind of like today, really, the pressure's off. And I can see a lot of these players sort of turning up and performing on that basis. But Chelsea are very, very strong. I don't know how much they might rotate potentially with obviously the Champions League final, reminding that's a couple of weeks away. But obviously they've just had a big game against City. They've had big Champions League games recently. I don't know really. Did they rotate?
They've got the cup final on Saturday.
And they've got the cup final.
Saturday.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So probably will be some rotation on their side, which I mean, I don't know how much you can take from that because they've obviously got a very, very strong squad anyway. So
I think that's it. I think that's the point, mate. I think they have got an excellent squad. They've got a really, really good squad. And I think they will rotate, but I think there'll be that element where players will also be saying, hey, like, we want to be picked for the FA Cup final. We want to be picked for the Champions League final, you know. So they've got such a great blend of players in that squad that I think maybe, you know, Lampard wasn't able to showcase in the way that Tuchel has been. And it's really interesting because at the beginning, it really looked like Tuchel was doing something really similar to what Arteta did when he came in, which was basically just saying, like, let me get this team defending, like, and let me defend really well, and maybe goals will come, and, you know, have fairly basic plans of attacking. And it really felt like he was doing that. And maybe that's a case where maybe he still has really just taken that approach. And it's just a case where they've just got an excellent squad of players who are able to use their own quality to do very basic things well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he's managed to get them all doing the basics very well, and with a focus on the defensive side. And, you know, Conte has been phenomenal. It seems like he's back to his best, and that defense looks rock solid. And then they've just got enough there from their front players like Werner and then Pulisic, Ziyech. I know all the Ziyech's in and out of the squad. They've got a lot there that they can depend on to just, you know, to just show their individual quality when it comes to going forward. That's where I feel like we're lacking a bit is, you know, we could go ultra defensive. Not that Chelsea are ultra defensive, but we could play try and, you know, have a defensive focused team. The problem is that we've seen before is that we won't score enough goals because we don't have that level of quality consistently going forward.
And you can't. I think what makes Chelsea quite hard to stop is if you look at, you know, their results recently, it's different match winners every game.
Yeah,
you'll have a game where Havertz will score twice and win the game. Mason Mount will win the game. Pulisic will win the game. Yeah, like, you know, they've got so many different players. And when I watched them against Real Madrid, that's what stuck out to me. I thought there's a number of you who could win the game right now. Yeah. And that's probably what will make it difficult for us in the same way, you know, trying to actually stop them when they have so many different ways of winning the game. You know, but I think Miser's original point is correct also in that I think I can see us being up for it. I think Arteta loves Arteta seems to love these kind of games against the big Premier League sides. He seems to really enjoy that from a tactical perspective as well. Yeah. I can see Arteta trying to be quite. I can see him shifting to a 3 at the back. I can see him playing 3 at the back.
Really? Hasn't done that in a while, has he? I know he was doing it a fair bit, obviously last season, and then I don't know if he's played it that much this season, but yeah, you reckon?
I think so. Chelsea play back 3, don't they? Or back 3 and 5.
They did against City the other day, but I don't think they normally do they?
Do they not? Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, maybe. But yeah, I don't think they normally do.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it. I can see him just going, do you know what? This is what I was doing when we were getting results against big teams. This is what I was doing. And maybe we don't have the confidence to play in the way that we were playing in some of our good patches this season. Like, I think when we beat them earlier this season, you know, there was just a lot of confidence. And I don't think we have that confidence at the moment. So maybe.
Does he need to do that though? Because, yeah, this is as close to a free hit in the league as you'll get. Right. So do you really need to be like, actually, I'm just going to play the most effective one-off system to try and deal with this Chelsea side, or is it worth him just saying, look, this is how I want to play and this is a system I want to play long term, and I get to test this out in a big game? Because he's not going to play a back 5 every game next season, and he hasn't played a back 5 for months, if at all, this season. Maybe we started off with a back 5 at the start of the season, but it just seems so reactive. And, you know,
he might look at it, mate, and say Chelsea will set up, and they have set up in a way that really is able to absorb pressure very well. And he may think, actually, my best way of countering that is setting up in a fairly defensive structure myself. Chelsea will want to win. Like, you know, at the end of the day, the top 4 is not guaranteed. They'll want to win. And he might just try and basically play the same game as Tuchel and just say, no, let's see who makes a mistake first.
Well, then who plays that, mate? It is 100%.
Well, look, we're going to make a mistake anyway. Yeah. But, you know, So yeah, maybe.
Although,
Go on. No, go on, Aaron.
No, I was just going to say, if you look at recent results, although Chelsea have beaten, Man City and Real Madrid, they did lose to West Brom.
Who we beat them today.
Beaten. Exactly. So
therefore we're better than Chelsea.
Exactly.
I was going to ask when did we last actually play a back three? I was going to ask you, Raj, because you did do some really good analysis on the centre backs a few weeks back.
And I think since I did that, I think we did play back three. I can't recall which game it was, but I think and I remember in that analysis, it seemed like we were playing back threes in the Europa League when we were just trying to mash as many sort of bench defenders in as possible, where your Mustafis were still playing and your Kolasinac was still playing. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure we played it. I just can't recall the game. To be honest, I think maybe what I'm thinking of is when Xhaka has been playing left back, how sometimes it's looked like they've set up in the three and Xhaka hasn't been playing as that wing. I wonder. But I think it'll be interesting as to what a lineup he plays. I mean, because I can imagine him reverting back to having Oba up front and not having, Martinelli. I think he's probably said, okay, look, I tried that against West Brom, but I'm going to go back to kind of my normal tried and tested.
You'd expect so, wouldn't you? Yeah, I think again there'll probably be a few changes. I mean, there were obviously Xhaka was out. I don't know, was Xhaka is that a longer term thing? Do we know?
Not sure. I think Smith Rowe went off today with an injury, so he might be doubtful. But certainly Xhaka, not sure.
I think Tierney will start. Looks like he's kind of almost fully fit. I think he will start. If ESR's out. Obviously, Erdegaard didn't play today. Yeah, Aubameyang. So there's obviously opportunity to change it up and almost play a bit of a stronger team. Why not, right? Why not? Nothing to lose. As you said, it's a free hit. And just in terms of our league campaign now, we've got 3 games left. Obviously, we all want this season to end as Arsenal fans. We all want the season to end as quickly as possible. But, it'll be nice to end it on a high, even though it will mean very little unless, we maybe finish above Spurs, unless we somehow creep into a UEFA Conference League Cup tournament place, whatever it's called. Is 6th out of the question completely? It is, right?
I think with Everton winning today, I think 6th is almost impossible. Even 7th is a bit of a stretch because I think Everton have got quite a reasonable last few games.
We basically want to finish 8th and Spurs to finish 9th. That would be, for the next 3 games, what we've got left, that would be ideal. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I'll take your predictions then, guys. Aaron, and how do you think it's going to go?
My head says we're going to lose, unfortunately, 2-0 to Chelsea.
I was going to go 2-0 myself. I think their quality is going to shine. I think that will be the difference. I think a team that's confident, a team that knows what we're doing, and I think the quality and their range of scoring options will make a mistake for sure, at least one. So, I'm going to go 2-0 as well, actually.
I think Giroud's going to score. To wind us up.
Probably. I think I'll go 3-1. So, pretty similar, really. I think they're just Chelsea, too strong for us. To Chelsea, to Chelsea.
Okay. And what kind of 3-1 do you see that? Do you see us being level at any point?
I reckon. This is coming out like just thin air, really. I'm sort of pretty much guessing. I don't know. I just don't think. I say possibly. I don't think we're ever going to be in the game. Really, I think they're just going to be too strong for us. And even if it goes 1-1 at any point, I don't think that's going to be a reflection of kind of the actual the balance of the game and who's actually the better team. The only hope I have is that they rotate a lot, even though it still means there's going to be strong players coming in. That's the only hope I've got, that they're going to rotate quite a bit. But so we're not going to be great then, really, is it? If we're all predicting.
Maybe this win against West Brom is as good as it gets for the run-in, huh?
Who have you got after Chelsea?
Palace.
And then Brighton, isn't it? Yeah. We might be at that game. Possibly. Cool. All right, boys. Well, we will see everyone after the Chelsea game on Wednesday. But until then, thanks again for tuning in, and see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.